This is the plaintiff, Jacqueline Jacques. She says she found the defendant an apartment to live in, and the ingrate is stiffing her on half her finder's fee. She's had it up to you-know-where with the plaintiff and her constant excuses. The buck stops here, and she's suing her for the $735 she still owed. This is the defendant, Darlene Ford. She says the plaintiff knows her sister, and yes, she did give her the number of a landlord she ended up renting an apartment from. The plaintiff told her not to worry about paying the broker's fee, so she didn't. Now, the woman's turning around and suing her for it? Maybe the plaintiff's hard up for cash or something. She's accused of stiffing a broker.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case of the docket. The plaintiff says she found the defendant in an apartment and the defendant won't ante up the finder's fee. But the defendant says the woman hardly did anything and waived the fee. It's the case of finders keepers sometimes.
Okay, Jacqueline Jacques?
Yes.
You and your company, you've asked us not to mention the company name, are suing Darlene Ford for $735, the remaining balance of a broker's fee that you did not get paid.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
How I became acquainted with Darlene was through her sister. Her sister had a apartment rental up the block from my home, and I had contacted her with regards of renting the apartment. A couple years later, she had said that the apartment was empty and she would like for her sister to rent the apartment. I then processed the paperwork for her on her behalf. And then a couple years, say a few years after that, it was around 2008, 2009, coming forward around 2010, 11, her sister had let me know that she was in the process of selling her home. So I said, okay. I let the sisters know that the house was going to be for sale. That really didn't go over well with them. Darlene contacted me with regards to helping her find an apartment, be it that the house is being sold and she would have to move. I said, okay, no problem. She gave me a preference that she wanted to be in Queens. However, some of the apartments that I did show her in Queens, they were not feasible for her. I had found an apartment for her from a landlord that I used to work with before. I had sent him countless applicants for the apartment, but he was more or less flirting with me versus me getting the business for renting.
Did you show her other apartments? Or
yes,
no?
I did.
Okay, that were in Queens?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That you physically showed her?
Yes.
Okay, how many?
I believe I showed her 2.
Okay.
I spoke to her with regards to this apartment. I let her know what the situation was with the landlord. I really wanted her to get a place because the time was winding down as to the house was being sold, and I wanted her to have a place for her.
And you wanted a fee?
Yes.
Yeah.
I discussed with her. I let her know that, okay, it's the same rules that applied before. You apply for the one-shot deal. You get the security.
What's the one-shot deal?
Sometimes when you're unable to pay on your own, the first month's rent, the security, and the broker fee, the city agency helps you pay for your rent.
Okay.
At the time, there were some changes going on, and I did let her know.
Okay, but you were educating her to that?
Yes.
About that? Now, what is your job?
I'm on disability.
All right, so go on.
I let her know with regards to there may be some changes. We put the paperwork through.
So you put through, does Section 8, hold on one second. We're talking about Section 8, right?
Yes.
Does Section 8 pay a broker fee?
No, Section 8 does not pay a broker fee.
Okay.
HRA, Human Resources, pays a broker fee.
Okay, and Human Resources is part of which government?
New York City.
They pay a broker fee?
Yes. They help you, if you need assistance, certain...
No, I understand that if you need assistance in paying like a broker's maybe I'm wrong, a broker's kind of like a luxury because you don't want to have to look for it yourself. That's true. That's money that would go to pay another needy person's living expenses, and instead it goes to the luxury of a broker and the government pays that? It seems like a funny way to run a railroad. I know it's probably business for you, so you're happy, but I don't understand. It doesn't matter, it's what it is. I'm just commenting. Okay. All right, so you put this thing together so that she would have some government assistance, and then it turns out, then that agency paid half of your fee?
Yes, the agency paid half of the fee.
Based on what? Her income?
It's sort of like you have to apply for assistance.
I want to understand, what do you do for a living? You're on disability?
Yes.
For how long?
Since 2003.
Okay. All right. So the agency paid half of her fee.
Right. It was
Why won't you pay her the other half?
Okay, like I told Jackie in the beginning, I said that I don't have the money to pay you, but I will get help from social services and give you that. I told her in the beginning I didn't have the money to pay her the rest.
But you sent a contract saying that you
I haven't
acknowledged-
signed anything.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I did not.
Can I see what you showed me?
Okay. And if there was a contract signed, it had to be signed when I first met Jackie for the first apartment. But the second one, I didn't sign anything.
Did she sign something for this apartment?
The paperwork that you have before you is how we process our closed deals.
Yes or no to my
Yes.
question?
To my knowledge, I looked over, she has an application that she filled out.
I'm sorry, do you have a broker agreement for this apartment?
There's a voucher requesting for payment.
I don't know what that means. Do you have a broker agreement that she signed regarding this apartment? Yes or no?
No.
Why can't you just be honest and say no?
No, I'm not trying to.
Okay. Do you have a broker agreement on other apartments that you showed her?
So if this plaintiff doesn't have a broker's license, is she out of luck? That's the question.
I'm afraid so.
Why?
Because there's no agreement. There's no written agreement.
Well, the deal is everybody agrees there was an agreement. The problem is the plaintiff didn't have a license to do the job. Is she out of luck?
She's out of luck.
Even if she found it?
Even if she found it, she's out of luck.
Because?
She didn't have an agreement.
Well, she didn't have a license.
She didn't have a license.
Well, there you go. Gee, I'm glad you thought of that. That was good, going inside the courtroom.
Do you do a different agreement each time you show her an apartment or no?
No, because we spoke, we corresponded because she lived up the block from me. So
how'd that work out for you? Not so good, right? Because look at you, you're having to sue. All right, so I guess in the future, you'll get a signature of any tenant who wants you to work for them, right?
I have an application. The process that I have them fill out an application whereby I have a copy of their photo ID, their pay stubs.
That's very nice. Do you have something saying they acknowledge that they're going to pay you X?
No.
That's called a contract. That's the broker agreement I'm talking about, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
In other cases, you have it, right?
Yes.
Did you know that she wanted, how much is your broker fee on this case?
The equivalent of 1 month's rent.
Which was 1470. Okay. Did she tell you I want 1470?
Well, we talked about it, and I told her, I explained to her, I said, I need a little help trying to find a place because it was an emergency move. I told her, I said, unfortunately, I don't have the money to give you.
But she told you she wanted 1470.
She didn't ever state what she wanted.
Did she tell you she wanted 1 month's rent of whatever place
That's
you find?
what it would be, yeah.
Okay, so you knew that was her fee.
Yeah, I knew that.
And you agreed to pay her fee.
I said to her that I didn't have the whole thing, that I would go to the Department of Social Service.
Well, that's fine. But if you go and they don't give it to you, but you've agreed to pay the whole thing, why don't you have to pay whatever social services didn't pay?
Well, I would have had to try to come up with the money. I would have just borrowed it like I did for the security deposit.
Right, but you didn't.
I would have tried.
I understand that. But so when she works for you and finds you all these apartments, she thinks you're going to pay her.
Yeah, but I want to say something also. She said she showed me several apartments. I want to know where those apartments was. And then the one that I just moved into, she didn't show me that apartment, but what she did was give me a phone number and told me to call the guy and see if he was still renting.
That's the guy who was flirting with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Renting the apartment. So I called the guy. I did all the walking and going to his house to check on the apartment and see if I can get the place. All she really did with that was give me a phone number.
Well, all she would do was find it for you.
Well.
Right, and then help you fill out your Section 8 paperwork so that you could get, right? Yes or no? And then help you fill out your paperwork so that you can get government benefits. She did that too, right?
I filled out the paperwork. She looked over the paperwork to make sure I did everything.
Who obtained the paperwork?
I did. I
From
got
where?
the paperwork from the housing.
Okay.
They give you a package.
Okay.
So they gave me the package and I filled out all the paperwork. I asked Jackie, could she go over the papers? I did. Can she help me to make sure I did it right?
Okay. I find that you owe her the remaining fee. All right. The law in the state of New York is that they earn their fee when they make the match. I understand what you're saying. Oh, she didn't even take me there. Okay, she didn't meet you there. But it's based on the address she gave you in the landlord's immunity that you found an apartment that you liked. And you knew beforehand, according to your own testimony, that her fee was 1 month's rent.
Okay.
And then that's the place you find. And then, some of your bills do belong to you. $735, verdict for the plaintiff.
All right, ladies, just hold on right there, please.
Well, let's find out what the defendant's reaction to the judge's ruling that the plaintiff is entitled to her fee.
Well, I guess she is, but I feel as if I did most of the work for her. None of her paperwork or anything was done correctly. I never signed anything with her. But if that's what it is, then that's what it is.
That's what it is now.
Yeah.
Because the ruling is in. But
Okay.
at least she sent you to the apartment, right? Found it for you anyway, right?
Oh, sure, yes.
She did something.
Yeah, she did.
She's got to get something for her work.
Well,
Anything
that's
else?
true. No, that's it. Thank you.
That's all you got? All right. All right, right down there. All right. All right, so step on out here. All right, you got a smile on your face.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy. What people fail to realize is when they solicit a realtor to do services for them, they have to pay, regardless of the circumstances. And my lesson learned is that not all the time you can befriend someone that you do business with.
Okay, Harvey.
Okay, I talked about this a couple of days ago, but somebody on our staff really suffered a horrible tragedy, and really the whole staff did as well. She was pushing her baby stroller, and somebody was driving along in a bus and wasn't paying attention and was texting and hit a light pole, and the light pole fell and it hit the baby stroller and killed the baby. I mean, it's a horrible situation, and it really does kind of raise the issue of texting and driving and what it could do. You're obviously not intending to hurt somebody, but it can happen like that. I am guilty of it myself. I've gotten a ticket for it in the past, and it really has made me think, and I hope everybody else think, that this is just a horrible situation that everybody really needs to think about and avoid. This is a whole new world, and a world that is fraught with danger when you're driving and doing something that distracts you. Don't text and drive.